I do art because I'm an artist. For me, I've painted and I've charcoal and I do a lot of art because I've always been artistic. I'm a musician. And to me, food is that median that is all encompassing of the senses. But I don't think that food has to be art. I think it's beautiful, whether it's beautifully smoked brisket or a fine dining meal. I love food in every way, shape, or form. So I have a really hard time with the art in food. I mean, it's great and it's awesome, and I love to see people get artistic with their food, but make it taste good first. The concept for Localis has always just been cook with what we have and always be inspired. We're putting out interesting fine dining. We used to steer away from the name fine dining a little bit because it scares some people, but we're trying to attract an audience here. I would say our food is eclectic, fine dining, accessible enough to anybody, but also elevated enough for everybody. And then you think about, now that I have these ingredients, how can I make them look wonderful on a plate? It's more about just letting beautiful food be beautiful. And when you have incredible ingredients that are in season, they just tend to look really beautiful as well. I really try to remember that while I love the world approach of inspiration, all those ingredients that we know we can't get, how do we get that same thing on the plate with something local? If we're not gonna use pineapple, what do we do to get something like pineapple? We find an apple, then we, pickle it, and then we dehydrate it for a little while, or we do whatever we can to try to get it to mimic pineapple. That's the funnest part of writing menus. You can see it, taste it, touch it, smell it, hear it. Everything is involved in food. And I think that's one of the only few, art mediums that have everything encompassing. And then the first time that you make something that tastes good, you see a guest eat it and they're like enjoying it like you enjoyed your first time of eating something. That memory and that creation of a memory for someone else is literally the entire reason that I cook now.
I haven't found anything I don't like. I mean, Cambodia, I ate tarantula, ants, and bugs and everything. I love to share. That's one of my things about restaurant is if I find something, I wanted to share. I
think that's so crazy because that is the exact opposite of why I travel. You source ingredients for your restaurant because that's how your restaurant runs.
Like fish-wise, I can't catch bluefin on American River.
Yeah.
Totally.
You went all over the world.
Yeah.
I mean, did you like Japan?
The culture there is so rich. I learned how to make Szechuan sauce while I was there. And I have it on my menu today.
Oh.
So me being a Floridian, a boy from the South,
yeah, that's totally different.
it was totally different, but I found a way, like literally right now, I have on my menu fried okra that's tossed in the Szechuan sauce.
Sorry, it's not farm to fork, ocean to chopstick. So this is scallop is from Hokkaido, Japan, northern tip of Japan. It's very sweet. And salmon is from New Zealand, and yellowtail from my hometown, Kumamoto. And then Wagyu is from right next to my hometown, Japan, too. I can taste my country this way. In Japan, I was kind of crazy kid, like hair, everything. I just couldn't be myself. So that's why I was 11 years old. I told my parents, I don't know, I can't be myself in Japan. And my dad said, I heard America is a good place for you to go. So I did a newspaper route when I was 11, till about 15 and a half, raised $6,000. I brought my parents too because they didn't have money. America gave me a dream. My dad, he's a pastor. And my dad woke up one morning, hey, God gave me a vision, we're gonna open a restaurant. I said, how? He's the worst businessman you ever meet. He never cooked in his life. He said, you know what, I don't know how, but God gave me a vision. We had only $2,000 in the bank account, whole family all together. And then we met one Japanese gentleman from Japan. We shared the idea, my dad wants to open a restaurant. And he went back to Japan and he called my dad, hey, what's your bank account number? I want to be part of your adventure. And next time we went to the bank, found out he sent us $300,000. You know, so we opened the restaurant together with my father and everybody. And I was only 17. They said, you do the bookkeeping. I said, what's bookkeeping mean? It was so fun, keep writing the checks. And I mean, within 6 months, we lost all $300,000. And when I was 21, I told my dad that night, I said, I'm out. We're the only fishermen in the whole world didn't have fish because we had no money. And people came in, hey, can I have tuna? I said, I'm sorry, I have only cucumber fish or avocado fish. Take a pick. I've been asking you all the time, you know, we hit the dead end, we should give up. And you always told me, keep digging.
And look up on the up. I try to dig deep and deep as foundation of a Japanese restaurant. It took a few years, but after that, everything perfect.
I don't know about perfect, but
I remember the first time starting to go out to the sushi place. There was no one there, but there was this kid behind the bar who didn't really speak English very well.
do you remember those days?
Absolutely. People would start coming out there and seeing how you grew. And so for me, to see someone, a family, you're right, a pastor opening a sushi restaurant, right, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it gave me hope.
Wow, that's crazy. You've been there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
My dad said, hey, dream is free, so why not dream big?
I love the fact that the failure in your story, because we're all going to have those moments to where we come up short.
Yes.
I'm the typical, you know, single mom household, you know, multiple kids in the inner city ghetto, you know, that thing, right? But that doesn't mean that was my destiny. But what I like to say, if I land on my back, I can look up. And if I can look up, I can get up. And what's beautiful is the amazing careers that everybody have, we still got that room to grow and allow others to shine.
You got potatoes in for the big boy?
Yes, sir. What makes me tick, so to speak, is my faith, my family, and then my food. I think if you take either one of those away from me, you got an incomplete person.
To see what he's created and what's unfolding in Q1227, I'm still impressed.
I'm not a soul food chef, I'm a chef. I've been called that, and I just look at it and laugh because it doesn't define who I am. Before there was farm to fork, my mom was farm to fork because we had a little garden. It was like 2 rows of whatever, right? And she would go out and pick collard greens from her own little plants outside and bring them in and teach me how to wash them and how to cut them. That was my first experience really with food, you know? I'm definitely pulling from my roots, man. Recipes from when I was growing up, and we had this and we ate this. But then 25 years in the culinary industry, it's all been in California. It would be idiotic of me not to pull from local ingredients. It's definitely a combination. It's a combination of my travels, of books that I may read. I get inspired by watching other chefs. I'm blessed to be a blessing, and everything I do is geared around that. 10% of the proceeds that this restaurant makes goes back into the community through our organization.
We now feed 9,000 to 10,000 families and individuals a year.
We offer all sorts of assistance as well. You know, they need clothes. We give them clothes for the interview. So it's not just, oh, here you go, here's a cut. No, it's like, what do you need for that next step?
Can I give your son some applesauce? Here you go, buddy. That's just for you, man, okay?
I hope that one day they'll be able to walk through these doors and purchase a meal on their own because they've gotten on their feet and they can remember that small little opportunity that someone showed them.
I just want to love on them. And food is my language of love.
Would you walk us through the grid? Can we blind taste this wine together?
I think so. Yeah, if you guys want to. You want to go through the
That'd be
grid
cool.
real quick?
Let's do it.
All right. Wine number 1 is a white wine. The wine is clear. The wine is day bright. It is a pale gold straw of medium plus concentration of color. There's no gas or sediment. The viscosity is medium plus. On the nose, the wine is sound. The intensity of aromatics are medium plus. The wine is developing. My first love was dance and theater. My wine studies are directly correlated to the way I practice dance. Largest chain of mountains in Piedmont, Monferrato Hills. Aging requirements for Barolo Normale, 38 months. Primary fruits here, we have very ripe stone fruits. So we have apricot and peach. There's almost a funk to the wine that's really pleasant, almost like a brie cheese going on. Wood. Second most planted grape in Piedmont. Okay, on the palate. Structurally, the wine is dry. The body is medium plus. The texture is round. And this is one of those unique Italian grapes that has that cherry blossom. It's such a weird tasting profile. I wouldn't usually say that in the dining room, but it tastes like cherry chapstick. You know, that like cheap
Can I say, if I was a person dining at a fine dining restaurant who would be intimidated by a Somm, I would want to hear that. Sure. I'm not kidding, because that right there, you're like, oh.
Cherry
They're
chapstick.
just like me. I used to eat that in second grade.
Which one should I start with?
Franciacorta. Simone's Winery. 2009 vintage, so. Creamy.
So good. Yeah, that goes really well with oysters. New Orleans has a food culture. Seattle has a food culture. Can we carve out an identity that will actually draw people to Sacramento as a food town? We found a home in East Sacramento, which is the Italian Little Italy. I mean, there's a lot of Italian heritage, Tellini's and Corti Brothers, and all of these great Italian institutions in Sacramento. To be part of that little community here has been amazing. The wine program at Allura really defined the restaurant. And, you know, my wife defines the restaurant. She's the front of the house, I'm the back of the house, and I'm her biggest fan.
There is something to having a difficult wine list because we don't have kind of the go-tos. We don't have that Napa Cab, Napa Chardonnay, maybe things that people might find in the grocery store. And I did that on purpose because I want to break down those barriers that wine's intimidating. And one of the ways that I do that here is just tell me what you like to drink. If you're at home, you want to pop a bottle of wine, what is it? I just bring the wines out and I say, okay, the wine on the left is wine 1 and the wine on the right is wine 2. Just taste them, I will be right back. They don't even know what I've handed them. That's not the point. Do you like it? Great. Even though it's a nice place to eat, we hope, my goal is that there's no pretense. When I'm driving to work, I listen to Broadway show tunes or death metal, and that's my personality. I wanted it to be true to who we are. Deneb and I are like...
We're fringe class.
That's how We are fringe
We're not.
class. I want Alora to be the place where
Yeah.
you take someone when you want to get laid, and I am sorry,
Yeah.
I am not sorry about that.
No, I don't think you should be. I want that Barry White version of a restaurant where you leave and you're like, we doing some things.
I've always just kind of been this person that was like, I see these walls, but I don't see these walls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see these walls. Like, there's something on the other side. Walls are trash.
Right.
Walls are a trap, right?
Right.
Because like at first, you know, as a chef, what is the path? You start as a dishwasher, you work as a line cook, maybe you get promoted to sous chef, and maybe one day you're executive chef, and then maybe one day somebody's gonna give you a bunch of money to open a restaurant, and you get your own set of walls.
The life of a line cook is a vicious cycle. Same steps every day. You wake up, maybe you shower, and you go to work. Then you battle. Hopefully you win. A lot of times you don't. Input, order, output food, collect paycheck, go home. There's probably alcohol after. Go to sleep, wake up, do the exact same thing over and over. Is it gonna be this way forever?
Yeah, so I realized I didn't need the four walls of a kitchen, or I didn't need a chef, and so I started doing my own thing. I started traveling more. I started to do pop-ups more. I started doing events more. I started taking on private gigs, and you know that kind of all led to Last Supper Society's creation, which is it was a move for my mental health, for my creative freedom. For my physical freedom, getting out of that day-to-day of working in restaurants and being a line cook and creating my own playing field to where, you know, I got to call the shots. I got to cook what I want, when I want, and on my terms. Working in the industry and like kind of seeing how it caused, you know, a lot of my old chefs to treat people. How, you know, it caused people to lose their freaking minds.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be like that. I was not gonna let that be me.
I came out of that college of when you become an owner, restaurateur, executive chef, that it's do this right now. Like, you know, everybody here is replaceable. Don't say sorry. If you cry on the shift, that's your problem. I won. I came from that. And then I reached a point where I was about to mentally lose it. And I don't know if I should say this out loud, but it's my truth, and I don't owe anybody hiding this. I had gotten to the point where I had been thinking about committing suicide, and I just needed to step back. And I had bought this farm, and this plot of land has just been so immensely healing because it is allowed me to slow down. You already have a group of people that have inner childhood wounds, trauma that has nothing to do with the restaurant whatsoever.
Yep.
And then you put them into a situation where access to something that will help you mask the lack of healing that you're doing is easily accessible.
It's a vicious cycle.
It's a vicious cycle, and if you are part of an establishment that's the culture, you are going to get sucked into it, even if you try not to. I'm very open with my staff because, you know, I've had employees who are drinking on the job and they're messing up. And so when you have those situations where you see someone suffering, if you put yourself out there like, hey, this is a struggle for me too. I've struggled with alcohol, I've struggled with drugs, I'm bipolar, sorry. You know, you can make a difference in someone's
Well, look at how
life.
many restaurant people we've lost in the last couple of years.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is a real thing, and people in our industry are hurting.
I have lived my life for 42 years living in hyper control. And on this farm, I have control over nothing. I can start a seed, put it in the ground, pray that it comes up. It is what it is. It's unfortunate in our society that we don't get afforded these moments to be present. This farm is kind of one of my forms of meditation. Take my shoes off, put my feet in the earth, just be connected with the property, listen to the land. I just want to grow food, and I want to learn, and I want to teach, and I want to slow down. It's a reset. There was someone that I used to work for, and I remember having a conversation about being from New Orleans and Southern food. And that person saying to me, well, it's good, but it's not elegant. It's cheap food. It's poor people's food.
So is ramen, so is pasta, it's all poor people food.
Yeah. Southern food is not cheap to make.
It's not easy.
Everything takes time. Everything takes massaging. Everything takes patience. There's something to be appreciated by food that came out of slavery. How can food not create like emotion in you that brings you back to some of the most amazing moments in your life? Like, food means that to me. Food is, it's family, it's history. And when people tell me like they don't know how to cook, and like, do you understand the importance of knowing your family's food, your culture's food? Like my mom's fried chicken, that dish, as stupid as fried chicken is, that recipe is 200 years old. It's my mom's, and it was her mother's, and her mother's before that, and her mother's before that. You are literally telling the timeline of your family. Right. On the Quinn side of the family, we've always been cooking. We've always been a family of service.
Like, I don't want to be the best chef in Sacramento. I want to be the best chef in the world. I don't want to have the greatest business. It has nothing to do with any of that. All it is that have I reached other humans, and has my story affected someone else's story?
Working in restaurants, you have to push yourself through hard days. It's a pressure that I love, and if I didn't love it, I wouldn't do it.